Good morning, Sydney. Now, before we dive into today's hot topics, let's welcome us live, Dr. Matt Clemson. Yes, so I've heard that you're a rising star in the biological sciences. What exactly do you do that makes you you?
I work at the University of New South Wales in the School of Biotechnology and Biomolecular Sciences as a lecturer, currently teaching first year biology to 1,000 students.
Wow. Well, I've always been a games person myself, always will be, and first thing, me and my friends like to play something called word association. Now, we're not going to actually play that on this show. We're just wondering, science teacher and, well, impending international celebrity don't really go together, so how do you make it work?
It is quite a difficult job. I think you need to be excellent at communication, you need to be able to deal with a broad range of people, from professors, academics, through to first-year biology students who are very new at university and have lots of questions and lots of concerns about their study.
Yes. Could you give perhaps some examples of those concerns?
Those concerns, I just received the mark for my first university essay ever, and now I'm hysterical and crying in class, in front of all of my friends. How do I deal with that situation? And it's actually quite difficult. Maybe I used to always get 99 or 100% in high school, and now I got 84%. What does this 84% mean?
It means you're 1 mark below a high distinction.
That's right.
You're not supposed to cry about that.
It's not bad at all.
Yes. Now, what would you say that you would like to happen to you, or that you'd like to do that you think will always put a bright spin on life down there?
In the future?
Yeah.
Currently working in the university as an academic, obviously making new discoveries. I think I was reminded a few weeks ago the reason why I began studying biology in the first place was to find a cure for cancer, and that led me to begin to look at cell biology, of course, and ultimately into genetics and how our DNA works, how we switch on and off genes, and how that can control growth and possibly lead to cancer, and what can we do to stop it. And so big discoveries, and in the field of, I guess, education, being the best lecturer in the whole world.
Of course. That's not up for debate.
I think the challenge with teaching in today's world is this computer behind me with Google and all of the answers within an instant. And I think in universities we often try to take one of these internets and deliver 23 chapters, one at a time, to all of the students, and we expect that you understand and know all of that by the end of semester, whereas you've completely ignored all of the knowledge that's behind me in the computer. And I think that's today's challenge as far as education is concerned. And I'd like to improve the way that we deliver education and try and inspire the next generation to go and do wonderful things.
Well, that's a very well-rounded goal. Okay, so as you were saying behind you with that whole Google and everything at our fingertips, we're entering an era of vast technologicalization. So we've been at a few liberties, and we've managed to, 1, find that you absolutely love the book Z for Zachariah, and 2, we may or may not have trolled your Facebook page. So what is it about the book that you love so much about all the other books?
So I was forced to read Z for Zachariah when I was in high school, and I actually really enjoyed it as a novel, as a book. I guess the very beginning of the novel, where just the logic, I like the science behind not just the young girl living in a valley where a nuclear war, I guess, happens outside of the valley, and she's protected from that, but she sees the smokestack getting closer and closer each day, and she knows that there's somebody out there coming, and I guess it's that mystery of the unknown. But the logic to identify what's happening was also what appealed to me.
Oh, so I seem to recall that in the novel, the girl she eventually nurses the mysterious stranger back to real life, back to life, from his radiation poisoning, because he was not smart enough to test the river he swam. How realistic do you think this sort of situation is, that someone would be so willing to help such a stranger in such a devastated world?
I think that is just human nature, and we're all here for our own purposes, but we're all here to help each other. And I guess, given that situation, do you let somebody die, or do you do everything you can to keep them alive, even if they're not a close person to you? Of course you do all you can to keep them alive.
Would you say this is a very positive worldview of things? Do you think that has affected you in everyday life and what you do?
Oh, definitely. I spend my entire week helping 1,000 people I barely know.
That's true, that's true.
I'm always helping people I don't know.
Moving on, so, still related to that Facebook page thing, please explain Grug.
So, Grug was a problem solver.
Ah.
And he was in a series of children's books. And he looked a bit like a grass tree.
He's very cute.
But he was a problem solver. And the Grug series of books were probably the first or second set of books that I learned to read.
That's very sweet. Do you think he has the properties to be an excellent scientist?
Oh, Grug is rock and roll. He finds a problem. I think Grug found that the dancing instructions were too difficult at one point
Devastating.
to learn how to dance, so Grug made up his own dance, the Grug dance.
That's amazing.
He flies his own way. He makes his own rules.
Yes,
Grug is too cool for school.
of course, but not too cool for science, because that's what we're all about here.
Not too cool for science.
Okay, finally, on a serious note, I know that I've just finished my BABS 1201 exam today, and it's a miracle that I am still conscious. So, would you have any tips for aspiring scientists or people recovering from their exam period?
Tips for aspiring scientists: certainly through all of your undergraduate studies, never fall behind. Falling 1 week behind is so difficult to catch up, and it becomes 2 weeks and 3 weeks and 4 weeks, and becomes almost this enormous goal, which you need to break down into smaller goals. One essay, one assignment, one lab report at a time to make your way through university, one step at a time. And also not to be afraid to ask questions. If you're not sure of something, if a topic didn't make sense in a lecture, contact the lecturer directly and say, I didn't understand. You were trying to explain a concept. It's most likely a very complicated concept. You're trying to explain this concept to 500 people in a room. I need some extra help. And ask your peers. And of course, you can ask Google.
Oh, yes.
I don't think Grug will help in this instance.
It's disappointing. Well, that's a very diplomatic way of going about things. I admire that. I'm generally not so sort of like, I'm gonna gung-ho, please help me. I'm sort of like, I am dying. Everything is fine. Okay. So, one point that you mentioned sort of interested us a bit. You said Grug has a very special dance, yes?
I can't do the Grug dance, don't you ask.
Oh,
Don't you
please,
ask.
please,
I
we'll see
really
about
can't
that.
remember the Grug
Oh.
dance. It was far too long ago.
Well then,
If you do the Grug dance with me, I'll do the Grug dance.
I thought you
Yeah.
said you didn't remember how to do it. Okay,
Yeah.
only if you pull up some very...
We're just going to make up a Grug dance.
Okay, do as Grug does, not as Grug says.
Okay, scientists don't dance.
No. By default, we are no longer scientists. Okay.
I may be too old for nightclubs.
No, you'd be fine. You'd be hitting that club and everything would be turned. So, thank you very much. Unfortunately, that's all we have time for today. Dr. Matt Clemson, everyone.
Cheers.
Yeah.